Welcome back to the Weeb Lounge, and this is a story about a old school World War II vet taking advantage of a little kid and apparently making bank along the way. All right, I'm gonna have to set this one up because that sounds really horrible, but in all reality, it's actually entertaining, it's fun, and something that'll live in my memory for a really long time to the day I die. All right, now when it comes to video games, I am an old school arcade rat. I remember I'm like 4 or 5 years old. Mom had to take me to work, and this is so long ago that I can't remember it myself. Just little bits and pieces, little photos here and there because I was so young. But apparently this is when Asteroids was in the arcades, okay? Yeah, I'm a little up there in age. She would take me to work and she would have to get this little stool, put it in front of the arcade machine so I could get on it, reach the controls, and I would play Asteroids, and apparently according to her, because I don't remember much about this, I would just whoop everyone's high score. Just demolish everyone's high score. And to this day, I don't know why I really didn't care for Asteroids. I really didn't. I'd never, once Atari, I got an Atari 2600, I never wanted to play Asteroids. Okay, well, whatever the case may be, go forward to the future a little bit, and I'm this arcade rat, okay? I'm going to the arcades all the time as that I can, and my grandpa's the one that would take me. I lived with my grandparents, they brought me up, and I would just go to the arcade, and Grandpa, you know, whenever I wanted to go to the arcade, it seemed like he would damn near drop whatever he's doing and take me to the arcade. Now, I'm that guy in the arcades that would draw a crowd, okay? Now, if anybody remembers Contra, the original arcade Contra, I'm 7, 8 years old, something around there. My memory's still a little fuzzy, but I could go I could put a quarter in this game, play from beginning to end, beat the whole game without ever dying. Now, if any of you old school folks out there have ever played Contra in the arcade, you know that's hard as hell to do. Damn near impossible, but I could do it, and I could repeat it over and over and over. That's how good I was at that game. And there was other games I was good at, you know, like Road Blasters. I played that a good bit. Paperboy, the original arcade with the bike-handle controller, that thing was awesome. I played that. And then it got to the fighter era. And we're talking when Street Fighter II first hit the arcades. We're talking when Mortal Kombat first hit the arcades. We're talking when the Neo Geo system, the fighting system as it's been branded, first hits the arcades. All this old school stuff that eventually became mainstays in gaming, period. Let me tell you how good I was at these games, okay? Street Fighter II. I walk up, I put 50 cents in because they raised the price now, it's 50 cents. And I played for 5 hours straight. 5 hours straight, Street Fighter II. Non-stop, people coming up to challenge me could never, ever defeat me. I played for 5 hours straight. It was all the way to the point where the place was about to close. The arcade was about to go close. And I just saw this little kid walking by. I'm sitting there, I'm beat to hell. My legs hurt, my shoulders hurt, my arms hurt. It feels like I worked out that entire time, that I was drained. And I just looked at this little kid walking by. I was like, hey, you want to take this over for me and everything? And grab the kid, put him in front of it. He's like, yeah, I'll play, yay. To this day, that kid probably has the highest score ever recorded on Street Fighter II. That kid who probably has no clue that he is king shit in the world. And especially in the case of Mortal Kombat, the original Mortal Kombat, I'm the guy that would draw the crowds behind him. You see those old school pictures, whatever, where you have someone really good playing games, and in the little TV shows and movies and stuff, they have a little bit of a crowd behind them. I remember once playing Mortal Kombat, fighting away, oblivious to the world, and I get done, I just defeat the last boss because nobody would freaking challenge me at this point. I mean, you know, people knew who I was. If they saw me on that machine at that point, they would be like, yeah, I'm not going to waste my 50 cents and get my ass whooped. I'm going to walk over here and play Primal Rage, even though that game kind of sucked. I mean, even back in the day, it was unique, it was fun, but it sucked. But anyways, you know, I would get done playing the game, I beat the last boss, I turn around, and there's like 25, 30 people behind me. They're all just watching and they're like enthralled by this kid whooping everything's ass, okay? That's how good I was at the arcade. That's how good I was at games in general. And I could go into more computer games and everything later on at the skill level that I had, kind of tooting my own horn there and everything. But in the arcades, I was that arcade brat that whooped everyone and drew the crowds. That's the guy that I was. And Grandpa took advantage of this. He took advantage of this. I never knew he did this until after he passed away, okay? I never knew he did this, but finally after the fact from my grandma, I learned exactly what he was doing. Now growing up, I had, the Atari 2600, NES, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo. I had all the systems, right? I even went out and got a Neo Geo, the home AES version. I even had that. But here's the thing. Grandpa and Grandpa, Grandpa's retired. But anytime I wanted a new video game, Grandpa was like, okay, we'll get you one. Okay, as long as I wasn't asking for like 15 games in one go or something. If I wanted one game every once in a while, I go get it. He didn't complain. He didn't tell me, go play your other game. You got other games. You don't have to play that. What do you need more games for? You already got 10, that kind of crap, old school stuff. He pretty much took me out to get it. And I always thought he was like, yay, loving Grandpa. He got me games. Yay. That wasn't quite the case. It was the case, but it wasn't. Here's what happened. When I'm in the arcades, playing Contra, getting through it all in one life, when I'm whooping people in Mortal Kombat, when I'm whooping people in Street Fighter 2, Grandpa always took me to the arcades. He was always more than willing to drop whatever he was doing to take me. You think it's just a loving grandpa. Yeah, he was a loving grandpa, but he took advantage of this. Grandpa was a straight up old school hustler. He knew how to befriend people. He knew how to place a bet. He knew how to draw money out of people. And what he was doing is he was talking to people and just getting them to put little wagers down. Oh, you see that kid over there? I bet you he could beat that Contra game. I'll put 20 bucks on it. And the other guy's like, that kid ain't going to beat Contra. Here, I'll bet you 20 bucks. And lo and behold, I beat Contra and he gets his 20 bucks. That is repeated over and over and over the course of many different games. Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter 2, Contra, Paperboy, whole bunch of different games that I would play. Many different games. And it turns out, on average, Grandpa was walking away with like 150 to 200 bucks each time he took me to the arcade. There's some weeks where he'd be up $1,000. And I'm sitting here wondering, why does he buy me the video games that I want? Technically, it's because I earned them. That's why. He's returning the favor, I guess. And this is why, my very first computer. My grandpa bought my very first computer. Anything I wanted with computers, he would go out and get. The newest game systems, even when arcades were starting to decline, even when I wasn't going to the arcades anymore and buying this other stuff or whatever, he would get me the systems. He'd help me get the systems. And I always had like this pretty good sized library of video games and such. And I basically ended up earning all of it. So over the course of years, Grandpa apparently made thousands upon thousands of dollars off me, hustling other people, making bets, making wagers. And I remember one time that Grandpa was a little put off or whatever. I couldn't quite put my finger on why. But I was playing Contra, I got through the whole thing, and right after I got done, I walked right up to my grandpa and I was like, okay, I'm done, I'm ready to go home, because I was actually kind of getting bored at that point playing Contra, because every time I play, I get through, I beat it. And Grandpa was almost seemingly trying to push me away. There was some guy I didn't know who it was standing next to him. And Grandpa's just kind of like, okay, on the down low, kid, I'm trying to hustle here. That's what it was. He was trying to hustle. And I kind of walked up and just like ruined the whole thing for him. I suppose, according to my grandpa's best day ever was he made just over $600 off me in a single day. A single day. I wish I kind of knew about this, because Even back then, I was smart enough to know I'll play along with this crap. I will ignore you. I will not know you. Give me a couple of bucks here and there. Get me my games, and I will let you hustle all damn day. Even back then, back that young or whatever, I was all about that hustle. That would have been perfectly fine with me. But needless to say, you know, Grandpa was an awesome person. There's many other tales I could tell about him, and while on the surface that seems kind of like a little bad or whatever, but he paid it back. He paid it forward, and that just makes him an awesome guy. And with that, like, subscribe, share, hit that notification button. If you have an awesome grandpa, put down in the comments if there's any kind of short little tale that you got on him or something that holds a candle to mine. Grandpa was a hustler. He knew how to hustle, and I got them video games for it. We'll see you in the next video.